Within all of my videos, I focus on two very specific topics. I focus on money making and finance, and I also focus on societal and social issues. Now, obviously my content isn't perfect, I make it on my phone. I usually don't even use a microphone, it's a built-in microphone from my phone. And a lot of the time, because I film them outside, I quite like the vibe. You get good shots like this. But the wind noise and stuff like that means it's, not an ideal place to film. But what I lack in, say, production value and production quality, I aim to make up for in quality of ideas. When you're making these sorts of subjective topic videos, the content can only be opinionated, right? It can never be factual. Some of it is factual, you can always incorporate statistics and things like that, but it's very hard to get a factual view on opinionated topics, really. But what I do try and do here is share some valuable information, and even if you don't agree with my opinion, that's fine. Hopefully, it gets you thinking. Now, arguably, the value that subsequently provides to you, it can vary. It may be of no value at all, but I like to hope, at least, that for some people who watch my videos, you will start to get thinking about new things that you may have not considered before. And perhaps if you were thinking about these things before, maybe it's some consolation to know that somebody else is thinking about these things too and understands where you're coming from. Now, that is, of course, enough about my videos. I want to talk about the videos of others. I have just started uploading on TikTok again, the sort of videos that you see here on the channel, also the ones that I create into YouTube Shorts. I'm going to simply upload those to TikTok in the hopes of getting more traction over there too. Now, with the exception of uploading new content, I did my best, and I have been able to stay away from TikTok really since it came out and got popular. But now the sort of content that's on TikTok is kind of spreading out to different platforms. TikTok is its own thing, but nowadays we have things like Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. It doesn't matter what your platform of choice is, you are now subjected to this content, whether you like it or not. Now, as I say, whether I achieve my aim or not, it's my goal to share valuable information. But whether we're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube or some other platform, the most popular influencers, if you will, the people on these sites, are the ones that make basically useless and pointless content. I mean, everyone's out there to be entertained, and that's fair enough, but the most popular people on these platforms make gaming videos and reaction content. It's like, that's not necessarily the best for people. You don't often see finance people or people who tell people how to get in shape, maybe with the exception of, your Andrew Tate types, but generally you don't see these accounts blow up to the same degree. Now, it does speak to what I would call market forces, in the sense that if there's not demand for it, obviously it's not going to get watched. And there will be less demand for it, because whilst that content is of significantly more value, someone telling you how to get in shape, someone telling you how to, build up your finances, is boring. I've just launched my new Patreon course, link in the description, where I teach people how to sell on eBay and make thousands like I do. But I made the note of the fact it's going to be boring. All of the content on my Patreon page is basically spreadsheets, slideshows, and talking to the camera. There's not even interesting visuals like this. It's very boring. And that's the thing, right? It's like school. But what's the benefit of school? Well, you learn a lesson. Now, of course, when we talk about the actual traditional education system, whether that lesson's worth it or not, is very much a different subject. But the intention of content like that is you can learn something, but it's very boring to do so. Now, when stuff is boring, it's natural that people are going to click off it. And content like that subsequently gets pushed in the algorithm less, because it's got poor watch time. It may drive people off of the platform. It doesn't make as much money as someone, jumping in slime or something like that. It's actually less entertaining, and subsequently it gets a lot less engagement. But this is kind of a problem in itself. At this point, we've discussed in detail how unscrupulous big business is. I think I was sat on this very bench in one of the episodes where I did so. But it is indeed true that these big businesses just do not seem to care. And a consequence of that is, if stuff isn't making money, it isn't going to get pushed in the algorithm, it isn't going to get pushed on the platform. And again, naturally this sort of content doesn't get pushed because, people do not engage with it because it's less entertaining. When people want to do their fun stuff, they don't want to see stuff that's boring. But this has led to a dangerous trend, I think, and whether we can do something about it, whether we actually want to do something about it, is a different subject, but we can at least be aware of it. In today's market, content is becoming extremely dumbed down. Like I say, there's not much value in it in terms of what you may have traditionally got, even if it is, say, a comedy or a fiction. there's no ending to the story, because when you make something in 60 seconds and that's all it is, it's hard to get a message of value across in that time. And again, what we do about that is very subjective. It's how we spend our time, it's how we choose to be entertained. So whether there's actually anything wrong with that, I don't know. But there is a wider point to it, and the point is that we are subsequently becoming, well, more stupid. You know, attention spans, this is not like made up, are being said to be decreasing. And I do not believe that we can't say stuff like TikTok, Instagram Reels and the like doesn't have anything to do with it. Of course it must do. It's how we choose to spend our time. Now, I will be the first one to admit this is a very easy trend to get stuck into, because even myself, you know, you want to maybe watch one video, loud birds, you want to watch maybe 1 or 2 videos on YouTube, or you want to scroll through something specific on Instagram or whatever, and by the time you know it, you're an hour deep into watching all of these shorts and TikToks and whatever you want to call them. It is really like that on a lot of these platforms, because they're made to glue you in, right? And subsequently all of the content that gets pushed to the home pages is the most shocking, the most exciting, the one that gets your brain moving the most, whatever you want to call it, right? It's the most stimulating for your mind. But there is not much value to it. I mean, what I'm saying here is, whilst it is of course fine and great and okay to be entertained, and we should all try to be entertained in our own way, whatever that genuine entertainment for us looks like, let's be aware of some of the consequences. Now, who we want to blame for this, maybe that's going to be, I don't know, big business for pushing these sorts of videos to us, maybe it's marketing campaigns or something like that. I don't necessarily in this video want or need to blame anyone for this sort of content, because I think it is just human nature, right? When we get the opportunity, we want to be lazy, we want to stop working, we want to relax and enjoy our time and stuff like that. So it's not abnormal that this is a sort of content that naturally appeals to us and subsequently is pushed by these big businesses. I can't actually fully blame them for that, but I think bringing awareness to it could be stage one. But then we have the more difficult question, and the more difficult proposition of trying to find a genuine solution, right? Because, well, most people are addicted, is the short of it, right? Most people are addicted. They spend hours a day on these sorts of devices and on these sorts of videos and whatever, and they don't learn very much. Step one is to actually acknowledge that, but then from there we should look at what that really actually means, right? Because that is obviously true, but what does that genuinely take away from us? Is that time we could be spent with friends, with family members, or even if it's time that we want to spend online, right? We've all got our dreams and goals and aims and ambitions, different things for different people, naturally, but are these sorts of videos appealing to that, or detracting from it? Now, maybe you have the sort of, let's say, TikTok feed where everything you get is financial, or everything you get is for the gym and building muscle, or everything you get is for developing your, I don't know, social skills. There's a very compelling argument for the fact that could be beneficial, but that isn't the case for most people. I see people, and you know, I'm not trying to invade on people's privacy, but when you're on the bus, you see people scrolling through TikTok or whatever, and you just watch some of the stuff that they're watching, and it's like, we're all kind of guilty of it, but I guess seeing someone else doing it, even if we do it ourselves, kind of really outlines how stupid it looks. And you know, if we catch ourselves doing it, well, we understand why it's actually detrimental when we look at it through the eyes of, say, others. So I'm not saying it's not entertaining, like, obviously it is, but we've got one attempt at life, and even if people want to carry on doing it, you know, watching this stuff all day, every day, that's fine, but maybe just be aware of it. And for the likes of myself, it's something I've definitely had to kind of dial in on. Everybody does this sort of stuff, so to ask somebody else to call you out isn't realistic. You've got to start with yourself. Whenever you catch yourself actively doing this, just stop, right? And if you're going to do it, I would say, make sure it's something useful, especially if you're not where you need to be. I think it's just my view, right? I always say it's just my view. It doesn't mean I'm right. It doesn't mean it's anything you should follow or anything like that. But in my view, if you're not where you want to be, why waste time doing stuff that's not helpful or genuinely entertaining? Like people who get on with TV series or stuff like that, or even long YouTube videos, I genuinely understand. But I do not, for myself, I don't appreciate these 60-second or less videos where you don't keep up to date with the creator. There's not really much being discussed. It's a great gateway into that person's videos, which is why I actually produce those myself. But you know, it's for me, I think it is something that's dumbing people down a bit, and it's affecting people in my generation, especially younger, like the people even younger than myself, because the idea is something like TikTok probably came out when I was about, what, 15, 16, something like that. I don't know. I was never on it, so I don't know, but it never appealed to me. But the younger kids, you know, this is going to be to them normal, and maybe it's a faster way to consume content, so maybe it's better, but it does, despite being shorter videos, seem to lead to increased consumption, which really is a cause for concern. It's taken away from our productivity because of how engaged you have to be and how engaged your mind becomes, because, you know, you got 60 seconds, then you got to scroll again, and then you got to learn the entire story or whatever it's going to be in 60 seconds or less. It takes away from what we actually want to do, I think. So I don't really know what the message for this one is. I don't really want to blame any companies in this one like I normally might want to do. I don't really even want to blame the individuals. This is one of these videos where I just say, oh, I want to kind of bring awareness to it, really. I'm sure most people are aware of the fact it's the case. I'm sure most people are aware of the fact it probably does or has affected them. But maybe just noting it here in a video together, right, discussing this and the consequences of it for ourselves, our young people and our futures, might be an interesting starting point to get that conversation going. Perhaps you guys can continue the discussion with me down in the comment section. Thank you for watching this one. That's really all I have to say on this topic. Thank you, and see you soon.